you so much. Thank you for having me on this series. Very happy to see that you're doing something like this to keep all the startups and aspiring startups engaged in these times when the whole country is under lockdown. So it's good that you're keeping this engagement going. So thank you so much, everybody. Happy to be here. And like Kiran suggested, I'm going to start just briefly talk about how this transition happened. So I was just like anybody else in the tech industry, started working in Bangalore and then went to US on a short trip, came back, and so first couple of years I was like anybody else, just going with the flow. And then realized that like in 2 3 years I've hardly done any good work or any work in fact, forget good work. And so I decided to join a small company, and uh, and that company was a systems company. One of the earliest the versions of Unix ported onto Indian hardware was done by that company in the mid 80s. So when I joined in the early 90s, they were already well known in the system software space. And so we were building a database server like Oracle or any other database from scratch, a small team of 5 people. Very, very interesting project, for a Norwegian company that we were doing. The whole team was in Bangalore, and just loved that experience. That my first brush with products when we were building. 2.5 years was fantastic experience. The product did not go too far in the market, but for us as engineers, it was a fantastic experience designing and building a complete database server from scratch. Then I went off to the US, was there sometime in the US, doing things, and then moved to Valley, then joined another database company called Informix. And it was okay, good work, but it was just work at some level. And finally, we decided to come back. We didn't want to stay there, so we decided to come back. And just before coming back, I came to know of this startup in Hyderabad called Pramathi, which was a Java application server startup. When Java itself was new, they were building a Java app server in back in '99, and they were one of the first companies in the world to build it. And they were there at Java One in San Francisco in '99 with the app server. And I got to know about that when they were there. And then we started talking. I liked what they were doing. They liked my background. And then I ended up joining them. And I was studying engineering. I was not a founder. The startup was already 2 years old, but I joined to head engineering. We had a fantastic run, but unfortunately, after second round of funding, the market crashed post 9/11, and we couldn't really capture the US market. Though we raised two good rounds of funding those days in 2000, 2001, 99, 2002, two very good rounds of funding from two good names, Citibank Capital and Intel Ventures. And anyway, so part of the company was acquired by a Boston-based company called Progress. Then I moved there. I was heading the Progress Center till I moved in 2016 from industry to academics. Along the way, we set up a middleware lab at IIIT and in 2002. And we structured a few courses, and then I was leading the whole effort. After a year as a company, we stepped back, but I continued personally to teach. And 2005, I became adjunct faculty, or I was made adjunct faculty, and that continued to teach. And it was a fantastic experience. And that continued from 2002 till 2016 when I moved as a full-time faculty. And along during that, because of my IIIT association, I got to meet a few of the alumni startups. That was my first, though I was working for a startup, it was just working for a startup, but I was not doing anything else outside. But 2005 is the first time I met an alumni team that had a startup. And it was a good chat. I didn't know how much it helped them, but I liked the whole conversation. Within a month, second team happened. Some faculty would refer when they go and say, we started up, don't talk to somebody from the industry. I was one of those easily available for IIIT. And then the third happened. And then that's when I realized that this is fun. These conversations are really fun. They're doing some very interesting stuff, and it's nice to have those conversations. And then the third team was based in Hyderabad, and then we started continuing to engage. And we started something called Barcamp, which are unconferences. And so they were happening in multiple cities. I mean, Chennai had done the first one, and other cities were planning. It was a global movement they're called unconferences. So there are no invited speakers. They're conference where anybody can go put their name and speak. And we did the first one in IIIT. Went off very well, and this was 2006. In the next year and a half, we did almost 6 or 7 bar camps in Hyderabad. And there were bar camps happening in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in Pune, Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta. And in 2007, somebody got all the organizers of the bar camps together. So the 16 of us came together and started the Head Start Network, which is the one that organizes Startup Saturdays. So that happened in 2007. First 2 years, we did the annual event, one of the earliest startup events in the country. Event was called Head Start. It was happening in Bangalore. And then after the second event is when we said, like, why should we do it only once a year? Why not we do something every month? And that's how Startup Saturday started. And it happened in Bangalore 1 month. It was well received. Then second month we started in Hyderabad, and that was May of 2008. And till date, we are the only city where the Startup Saturday has been running without a break for 12 years now. And every month we do it. Every city, including Bangalore, has had breaks for different reasons. For a few months, they would not have had. Hyderabad is one city where we've been running without a break for 12 years now. And then the same time, Tripedi started its incubator. And then I was already involved a little bit with startups. I was very involved with Tripedi, so I was asked to help with it. And then I was there involved when it started. I was one of the original signatories of the society. I was also on the board. And Tripedi is one of the earliest incubators in the country. There were only very few incubators at the time. IIT Hyderabad had one. IIT Bombay had very few incubators were there at that time. Jeremy, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm telling it is one of the oldest incubator in deep technology.
Yes, we are. So IIT Bombay was the only one that was there at that time. IIT Hyderabad was still a regular incubator. Technology incubator was IIT Bombay. As far as you know, IIT Bombay is the only one that had an incubator. And we used to talk to them when we started. We took a lot of input from both IIT Bombay and IIT Hyderabad when we started. And so I was very involved. So on one side was the Head Start Network thread that was happening. On the other side was the Tripedi Incubator, which was an open incubator. Most of the activities were open to anybody in the city. Because there were not too many incubators or no incubators when they started, and few years later, a few more, but still not too many. So all our events are open. Even today, it's open. None of our events or initiatives are restricted to startups in our space. Startup that is in our space, and our programs are too independent, like including our accelerator. Any startup from anywhere can be part of our accelerator.
So pan India, anybody can participate.
Yes, so long as it allows them to, because we expect them to be physically here. So long as they can travel as often as required, they can. Research Connect is a big part of it. We connect research with startups. That's again open to any startup. They don't have to be in an incubator. So all our programs are independent of the startups working from the incubator. And that's how we were. And so, which is our ecosystem connect is very, very strong. We're very strongly connected to almost every player in the city. And which is one of the reasons the government incubator T Hub was created on our campus. We were already connected. So we have two incubators on our campus. And the third thing that was happening in parallel was the industry. I was very active in the industry also. And industry had an annual product awards. Annual awards. As part of the awards, there was also a product award category. And I took responsibility for it in 2008. I was the managing committee of the association. Like NASCOM, there's an association called HICIA here in the city. And so I was on the HICIA managing committee, and I took over the responsibility for the product awards. And we made it much bigger. We said, okay, why only should be products in large companies? Let's open it up to startups. And then, like, it used to be a closed door event. We said, let's make it open door. In the annual event, let's have a public showcase of the finalists, have an expo, and then, like, do it in a bigger scale. That worked out very well. In 1 or 2 years, it became one of the largest annual startup showcase events in the city, and continues till date. It continues every year, focusing mostly on early stage startups, technology startups. And so kind of all these were there, and I was very, very involved in startups, different facets of startups. And then in 16, I moved. And on the industry also, one of my things that I used to push for is innovation a lot. In trying, because we are predominantly services industry where we take projects and do. Even technology companies, product companies, you do mostly back-end work here. We're not defining new products from India. So I used to push hard. My company, the one I used to work, is a product company, and where, like, we pushed for 4 or 5 years, and in by 4 or 5 years, we were recognized as the most innovative. We had about 7 or 8 product labs across the world, and the Hyderabad location was the most innovative. It was already recognized in the company. So it was good progress there. But anyway, I've been a major champion for innovation in the industry, pushing hard for just think beyond services, look at products or solutions, be more proactive. And then finally in 16, I moved to Tripedi full time, and I've been running our incubator since then. Even now, I run. We have 4 major initiatives. We have our original deep tech where we started. Then 2-3 years back, we started a medtech focused initiative, which is funded by DBT. And last year, we started a social incubator funded by Niti Aayog. The main incubator had funding from DST and MIT in the beginning, but that's all run out. In 4 or 5 years, by 15, all these funds were finished. Today, that incubator is completely self-supporting. We are one of the very few financially self-supporting incubators. The incubator pays rent to the institute, though it's the institute's incubator. The financial model we have is the incubator pays rent, nominal rent, subsidized, but still we pay rent to the institute. And we pay power. I mean, power bill alone is like almost 10-15% of our budget. We pay power bill.
So you are saying that you have made unique business model. You are treating yourself as a startup company, the incubator, and then trying to make it sustainable. Can you highlight one or two interesting student entrepreneurs coming out of from the incubators in the interest of all the audience?
So while we are an incubator in an university in the IIIT campus, but we are not focused on students.
Okay.
So we said for us, we are a research university. IIIT is a research university. We are organized as a set of research centers. We don't have departments, and so research is our focus. So for us, our focus for the incubator is startups that can work with our research.
Okay.
Now, if a student decides to start up, we are very, very happy to support this. But that's not our focus. Every year we get a few startups that come out of students, but we don't spend too much time. By the time they come to us, they've already decided to start up. So we have an active entrepreneurship cell. We support the entrepreneurship cell. I'm also the faculty in charge for the entrepreneurship cell right now. So we nudge the entrepreneurship cell to do the pre-event because students listen more to students.
Wonderful.
And so we do a lot of the pre-activities. They do something called Startup Aid, which is an 8-week initiative where they come with some basic idea and through a series of mentoring and workshops, at the end of the 8 weeks, they get a curated idea, which has some mentoring. They got some inputs. They understand the market. They understand the opportunity. They make a business pitch at the end of it. So that is one thing that they do. They do a few other things, but this was the most important thing. But this leads to a pre-startup. So at the end of it, with some guidance, they have an idea now. It's not just an idea. They've spent 8 weeks thinking about it, met a lot of mentors, made a good pitch at the end of it. And then like I teach a course on entrepreneurship, which is again creating startup products out of research.
So you have a course. You have a course in the university who teaches.
Yes, one of the course. It's a 4-credit course. The whole course is a new venture building course. Okay. So, and I insist that the idea should be based on research work. Wonderful. They should say whose research work and why is that opposite. They start with that first 2 weeks, they pick an idea, and then the next 15 weeks, they're building that idea. So every week.
And which semester students generally take this course?
This is an elective, so anywhere from even 4th semester could, but mostly it is like 5th or 6th semester students, sometimes 7th or 8th. There are PG students who take first-year PG students.
Predominantly, who want to convert their research into a product-based enterprises, they come to this course.
It could be their research or somebody else's research. I expect it to be a research.
Right.
So that's it. So it can be their own research or somebody else's research, but research in the campus is converted to a product. So that's what we expect. But I've been teaching it for 5 years now. Between the 5 years, I've had at least about nearly 70, 80 ideas that we curated. And in the end exam for that course is an investor pitch. I invite 3 investors. I tell them you have to invest 10 lakhs in this idea. It's a prototype or prototype stage startup. They may or may not have a prototype, but that stage of a startup. I tell them you have to invest 10 lakhs. You listen to the pitch and decide if you will invest or not. Above 5 is investable, below 5 is not investable. You score them on a scale of 10. And the 10 marks I add, and that is the 30 mark score as it is.
Wonderful.
That is the end exam, part of the end exam. I mean, I have one more.
And you get real investors coming to the classroom and invest in these ideas?
They don't invest, but they assess.
They assess.
And they assess, and that becomes their end exam. I mean,
that becomes the end exam.
That 30 marks directly goes as their end exam score.
That's very interesting.
So, and oftentimes every year I have investors telling that at least half the pictures are as good as pictures they see outside.
Wonderful.
From startups that are coming for 1 crore, 2 crore or more funding. So it's a good course. I enjoy doing it, but unfortunately no startup has come out of it because IIIT has fantastic placements. So it's a huge.
You are saying that people who get easy jobs and cushy jobs, that become sometimes inhibited to start off. That become inhibited to take risk many often. That's what
it is. So the way I look at it, I know no startup. Only I think one probably has come out of it. My TA in the first time I offered it, My
Right.
TA started a startup called Commute, and they got an exit.
So you're
So
teaching assistant at a startup company, and you got an
yes,
exit.
yes. So
That's so
he didn't take the course, but he was the TA for my first time I offered the course. He was my TA for the course, and during that semester he started the startup, and they had a good run. They got acquired by a Dubai-based company, and
wonderful. So I think
but
then your ecosystem in triple IT is very mature in terms of not only hatching these companies but also connecting them to investors and also to get them exit by acquisition or something. I think that's a very interesting ecosystem that
the
you have built.
ecosystem is very rich, but exit is something little far off because we are a very early stage space. Most of the startups come in with just the two founders or like one or two people. They're still in that stage when they come into our incubator. We are early stage incubator.
Right.
And but yes, we are very connected with the ecosystem. Just now, because of COVID lockdown, we are doing a series called Resilience Unlocked. The series is
Wonderful.
Resilience Unlocked. We're doing a whole bunch of activities. We did something called COVID Hack as part of that, where we looked at any startup that had a solution that can help with COVID, is a diagnostics or tech solution. We were giving a 25 lakh grant. So we had about almost 50 startups apply, and 8 of them were shortlisted, and 2 of them got the funding. And so that's on one side. We did something called Unpitch. We said like this is a time where everybody is stuck, a lot of uncertainty, and nobody is sure where they're going. We did an event called Unpitch along with Head Start. We had 180 startups apply, and we had about 40 startups shortlisted for the final pitch. They could pitch for a 25 lakh bridge funding. They could pitch for a 10 lakh seed funding, or they could pitch for a 1 or 2 crore kind of a pre-angel funding, 3 levels of funding, depending on the stage of startup. And we got 13 startups shortlisted. Now we are giving 5 lakhs to each of them anyway. Every final shortlisted startup gets 5 lakhs from us, and the investor that shortlisted also talking to them.
Wonderful.
Get more money, but we are saying immediately we'll disburse our 5 lakhs, and the investor may take a couple of months to process. So that is something that's happening that we did as part of that. We do something called Fire Up series. Every day we are talking to a startup on one topic that the startup is good at. Like this morning we talked to a startup that's in the on-car location-based advertising space. They have an LED panel on a taxi, and as the taxi moves based on the location, the ads change. Now that is a space which is
Based on
highly
the
regulated.
location, the advertising changes.
Advertising changes, and that is like a billboard. So it comes under the municipal corporation. You need a permit for it.
Okay.
And the local law says even the small display on the car is is considered equivalent of a big kind of billboard you have on the roadside. Both are treated same, and you have to pay some few lakhs for the license every month. So it's a regulation space, a regulated space, and they have to work through the regulation, work with the police, work with the municipality, get a different category created. So today's topic was, and they went through the process. They just raised money from Alibaba 2 months back.
And this is a startup from IIIT Hyderabad Incubation Center.
Yes, they're working in T Hub also, but they work with both T Hub and us. And so this startup. So today's topic was how do you create innovation in a space that is regulated?
Okay,
It is
so
like
how do you really create innovations which can deal with governments broadly
yes,
speaking?
yes.
That's the
In
regulatory
this case,
space
in
that
this case,
comes.
it's government is not a customer,
Ah,
but it's regulated, so you have to deal with the government. I mean, the
right.
regulation is something you have to deal with, though the customer is not the government. It's a regulated space. So like this, every day we are picking a topic, and then today's was I think the 26th or 28th startup in the
Wonderful.
last 5 weeks. Every day we're talking to one startup. It's a 20-minute conversation. We're recording it and then putting it out on a blog and on YouTube. And so that is something. So we just been keeping the whole environment busy. Yeah, then we did a survey last 10 days back. We did a survey of all the startups. We had about 45 startups that responded, asking them things like, okay, where are they hit right now? Is it cash flow? Is it revenue? Is it business development? What is the current status business-wise? What is the outlook they're looking at? Where do they think they need help? So we asked some 6, 7 different questions. Based on that, we have structured the next set of initiatives. So one of the things that came was like we want access to markets. So we are doing something called Corp Connect. So where we are going to
What
talk
connect?
with Corp Connect, Corporate Connect,
Corporate connect.
Corp Connect,
Okay.
and so where we're getting companies that could work with startups. We're asking them to give the broad challenge area, and against those challenges, broad areas, the companies that are looking for something in this area. We don't want specific problems. We want it to be broader. We will on the other side get the word out, get startups to apply, and then we will curate a set of startups and put them through a 2-3 week mentoring process, short mentoring, to modify their product to pitch to that industry,
Okay.
and then to present them in front of these companies. And we are hoping we are encouraging the companies to do paid pilots.
So is it something like kind of an open innovation engagement with the startup companies, with the industry?
More or less, it's just a little smaller in scale. It's just a 1 month process. So they're not going to modify have pitched to a company and we modify later. But if they understand the company needs something and they have something in a related area that they can pitch to the company. Okay. And then the company is okay with it, then they do their paid POC where they'll modify the product to suit. So there are many such things we have identified, and we're just trying to actively enable the startups.
So at this outset, I would like to welcome Nagarajan sir, who joined recently, Commissioner of Higher Education, and he is driving this startup hub project, iHub, under the leadership of the Principal Secretary. He was keen to interact both speakers and all the participants. So welcome, sir. So one of the thing Nagarajan sir is, I think he is driving on the way, but still he is committed to join us. Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hello to our speaker, Mr. Ramesh, and I've been hearing some of these interesting ideas. I think he's a good thought leader, and we'll have a lot of experience from IIIT and Hyderabad's experience also. So it's a good learning for all of us and all the people who have joined in Zoom and also in the Facebook live page. So thank you for joining us, Mr. Ramesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you, sir. It's been a
right now I'm on travel, but I'll keep listening to you. Please carry on. Hiranmai, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for finding our time even in your travel. So, Ramesh ji, so one of the things that you lead in IIIT is called the Co-Innovation Lab. What exactly means by co-innovation and what exactly you do?
So, co-innovation is more a function, but there are a few aspects in it. So, one is, of course, I handle all research outreach, connecting research with the outside world, with companies, with government, with startups. So that's something to be. These two worlds don't normally intersect. There is research and there's the innovation or applied side of it. These two worlds normally don't intersect. So it means like the startups or the industry that can use the technology don't know what's happening in research. And research that knows what's happening in research don't know what use cases are there outside. So, and normally the only way this can happen is that a research team has to become a founder and take a startup out. That's the only way it can come out, and which doesn't happen. Research teams or faculty is not interested in starting up, and students are happy taking their jobs. And so we created structures in the middle. We said like unless you have some translation structures in the middle, these two worlds will not intersect. So we have to make it intersect. So we have a small outreach team now. So most of the discussions that come, because I understand research on one side, I understand industry very well on the other side. So we have conversations before even somebody talks to a professor. We have pre-conversations, we understand what they're looking for, and by the time they talk to a professor, we have already identified a proper match. We know that it's going to work. And then we facilitate the process, then structure the project, statement of work and everything. So that's on the industry side. When it comes to startups, we have something called root node. So where startups that are in maybe it's a computer vision startup or a language technology startup or any other aspects of AI or IoT, any technology, if they think they can use advice from a professor, we set up 6 meetings with the professor. 1 meeting first, and then if they are okay, then we do 6 meetings. We ask them to pay a nominal amount, so we want a seriousness fee. But they get 6 meetings with the professor who will advise them on the technology. And this is something that's not easy to get. I mean, like a startup cannot go find time from professor, and here they're paying total of 75,000, 20,000 a month. That, like I said, we want that fee as a seriousness fee. But they get 6 meetings with the professor. Imagine somebody doing some work in computer vision, and IIIT has one of the best computer vision research group in the country. If you talk to one of the professors there and they're advising on the algorithm and the technique that you're using, that is quality of guidance they cannot get outside. So that is something we do. We started a product lab 2 years back. It's a research translation lab. We create startups out of research. So we get like people that want to be entrepreneurs but don't know what to do. We get them in. We hire our own engineers. We work with the professor, and then we do the curation upfront. We say, okay, this research work can be used for this problem in the market. We do that initial evaluation also. We have a person from industry who's heading that product lab. And we do this initial evaluation. We start building the product. And then we find an entrepreneur as we're building it. And then we license the product to that entrepreneur who takes it to market. The professor is involved until the process of creating the startup, which may take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. After that, the professor can continue to be involved if he wants. It can come in as an advisor or can come in as a co-founder. And
professors can be the co-founder. You were saying professors can be co-founder of.
That was the policy we had always. That's the policy we had back in 2008 itself. Professor can be non-executive co-founders. And they can also be executive co-founders, but then there's a process they have to inform and all that. But non-executive co-founders, professors can be. We've had that policy for a very long time. One of the earliest universities in the country to have a formal policy that allows.
Because we are getting requests, Ramesh, the same thing from Gujarat-based professors. They are saying that our students are becoming, entrepreneurs. They are making a lot of value and money. Why we can't do, particularly the government colleges, the colleges that we have received. And I think we are working out a policy towards that. We have the student startup policy, but now we are thinking to faculty startup policy in the state also.
We will be happy to help because we have a complete model. Because we have a technology transfer office, the same person runs the product lab. Our product lab is part of the technology transfer office. Wow. Because technology transfer office in most universities are more licensing agencies. If somebody comes, they should know about what technology exists. They should come and ask that I want this technology. Then this office just does the paperwork. But that is the easiest thing to do. We don't need an office for that. It's a simple contract and terms. The biggest challenge is finding the fit. There's a research work, identifying the fit is the biggest challenge. So our technology transfer office is more a translation office, which understands and works on this fit and less on the paperwork. That is easy anyway. And the product labs we look at product labs as a way to translate research into market products. And that's part of the technology transfer office. So we have a complete policy when we hold equity, when the institute holds equity, when we license, what is the policy? We take 8% equity when we license. It is royalty revenue share, we do 8% profit share, revenue share. Now, when we do the revenue, what's allocation? So there's a part of the equity that goes to the professor, part of the equity goes to the research center, and part of the equity goes to the institute. So we have a model. We have a model on, because equity, nobody wants to hold equity, which is just a paper. So we tell that equity is held by the institute. Whenever it cashes out, the allocation is for the cash that comes in. Like whether it is like if the company gets bought or if there's a revenue share and there's a revenue coming in. Whenever money comes, the money gets allocated. But we have a model for that. So we have very, very, very kind of elaborate policy for faculty to hold equity and work with startups. We'll be happy to share that.
Wonderful. I think that is something that we will take from you, work with the Office of Commissioner Higher Education and figure out how similar, because Gujarat has now more than 80 plus universities and 1.4 million students, one of the largest educational ecosystem. And there are many faculty members who have joined these discussions today, and there are many who are joining on Facebook, and there are many who might be following a lecture later on who have done great amount of research. Now, somehow the research to translate that research into product and market is also a new art, which nobody teaches to us typically. And therein probably we should create systems in place in universities, or process systems need to be placed in universities so that it keeps on going. So if a lab is doing research and something is coming out of it, it should get translated into products and something. You also was heading the Telangana State Innovation Council and also helped to set up such kind of innovation and incubation facilities in universities in Telangana. Do you like to share some experiences of setting up innovation centers in the state universities?
I don't know if it happened as well as we had hoped for. So there was an initiative when I was the state's chief innovation officer before Redbus Panisama joined. I was interim because they asked me to take it full time. I said I just moved academics, I can't do it full time. Then they asked me to lead it initially. So for about a year I led it, and then Panisama Sama came on board, and he was the innovation officer for the next 2 years. Now at that time, even before that, I've been working with JNTU, which is all the engineering colleges come under JNTU in the state. There are about 250 engineering colleges. Not all, most of them come under one university. And then there are another 15, 20 engineering colleges that come under 2, 3 other universities. But bulk of the engineering colleges come under one university, JNTU. And I've been working with JNTU for the last 6 years around innovation. We do a summer program called JNTU Excite, which is a startup seeding program. It's a 4-week program in the summer where we get about 30 teams, about 90 teams from 30 different colleges that come in 3-member teams. They come in with an idea, and it's a full-time program for a month. They are there from 9 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning till 6 in the evening. And we get a lot of talks from startups and from industry leaders, product managers, investors. We get every day we have talks. And the whole thing runs in a workshop mode where at the end of it, they have to have a curated idea. They should understand the market and why they're building it and who's the customer and all that, and also have a prototype. So these are all tech products. And so we've been doing that with JNTU for 6 years now. A couple of startups came out of it, but not too many. I think the quality of thinking in the students is very, very poor, given the whole coaching-driven education environment that we sadly have. They're very good students, but I think we have just created exam-taking machines. The students that can take exams, that whole thinking ability, we have kind of stunted it. It is there inside somewhere.
So what do you think? It is the technology skill that is missing, the attitude is missing, or the exposure is missing? What's that is missing?
If you're looking at a market product, there's a lot of creative lateral thinking required. You have to make an effort to understand the customers. You have to make an effort to understand what problem are they having. It's observation skills. You have to observe. You have to read, whether you're getting it from the internet or you're going talking to customers or wherever. You need strong observational skills. You have to observe, spot those opportunities, spot those needs that they are there, and then based on the need, there's a creative thinking. It's even to identify solution. Most students expect somebody to tell, okay, this is what I want you to build. These are the 6 things you must do. You go take a microcontroller. This is the program you want to do. You give that instruction, they will do a very good job. Now here, who's going to give the instructions? They have to generate the instruction themselves. They have to understand even what to build. They have to identify and define. Okay, when they look at the market, they've understood something. When they go start talking to somebody, they understand, okay, there's such a need. It's worth solving. They have to identify what is the need, name of the need. They have to identify what all functionality is required. They have to identify who needs the functionality and why, and make sure they pick only the most important ones. The market should need it more than others, right? They identify those functionality. You define the functionality, then design your system. You build it. This end-to-end thinking, our education system doesn't nurture.
So you are saying that it's like something like design thinking and all, which Nagarajan says, our commissioner says quite often that if we do not teach the students how to find a right problem, giving skills is halfway because they can't use that skill to solve it.
Yeah, you're right. It's in a small form. It is design thinking is a little bit more involved, but a very basic level. I mean, you need to have a market-centric thinking, user-centric thinking, and and that end-to-end thinking and the observational skills is something that our education system doesn't nurture. Our children have it. You go talk to a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, they are full of ideas. By the time they come to 13, 14, they come to 8th, 9th class, we stop everything and make them just take entrance exams. Now, so the ability is there, but we just kind of stunt it. Now they have rediscovered. So it is very sad. I mean, the university in the state, the students that come in are all good students. We ask every college to nominate some of their top performing students. So they're very capable students that come, and still the quality of thinking is very poor. But we don't want to give up. I mean, every year we've been doing it. I'm very involved. There's a director of innovation in the university. Me and the director of innovation jointly run it. I'm also an advisor to innovation for the university. So I work closely with GNTU. And we are not giving up. We said, yes, no startup comes out, the quality of thinking, it's okay. We will stay at it. We are just planting a bug. Maybe 5 years, 10 years later, it will surface.
Because building ecosystem is a long-term game, and sometimes you spend 5 years to build a culture, sometimes you spend 5 years to insert skills, and then sometimes 5 years to build institutions. The kind of institutional mechanism that we have and all of you have built together in Telangana State Innovation Council, it also takes time. I think building ecosystem is a long-term game, but continuity and staying focused is quite important in the entire endeavor. So one of the question that is coming up is artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these things are now the buzzword. For a layman, how does these technology going to transform the way we want to see the world?
So, I mean, it depends on which walk of life somebody is looking at. If you just look at COVID right now, so there's work happening where using an X-ray or even a sound of a cough, we're actually having startups. I mean, it's not easy getting the adoption because ICMR has approved, the government, state governments have approved. Like we don't know if they'll get approved or not, but just the solutions they're looking at. From the sound of a cough can be diagnosed, can be detect COVID. Now, the common man will never know what technology is behind it, but there is AI there. From the sound of cough can be detected COVID. Because the other forms of tests are very expensive. X-ray, which costs 200 rupees. From an X-ray image, can you detect COVID? Because X-ray is everywhere. Now, there are 2-3 startups. One of our startups, there's a startup in Pune. Both have already built the solution. The startup that's here is actually undergoing trials right now in ICMR. They're being tested against ICMR, X-rays that ICMR is giving from COVID patients. There is like the whole, like one of the work that's happening is like looking at the way COVID progressed in other countries. Can we project how it will progress in India? Can we identify the dependencies? What's the dependency on the weather? What's the dependency on BCG vaccination? What is the dependency on like age? What's the dependency on comorbidities? If you know like the average kind of what percentage of population has diabetes or what percentage has hypertension, if you put that percentage, can we predict a model in terms of how much it will progress, how many numbers to expect, how many number of hospital beds do you need, how many number of ICU beds do you need? Now that's AI at play, but nobody will know that it's AI. So all these touch somebody, but they may not know that there's AI. So the opportunity for startups is like, don't have to worry about whether the common man understands or not.
Okay.
If there's a problem out there, can we solve it using any technology? And so that's what the students should be looking for. I mean, if it's a problem, whoever has the problem, they should understand who has the problem, and then if it's worth solving, and if it's worth solving, figure out how technology can help solve it.
So one of the interesting question is coming. The world is full of problem. How do I know what problem I need to solve, despite I have a skill?
So there are two things. I would always say, especially to students, but to anybody, I would say, but definitely to students. One is the problem should be worth solving. That's where their observation skills and analytical skills are very, very important. You look at it, somebody has a problem, look at how is it being addressed today, and what are the issues with the way. There are very unlikely that there's a problem completely unsolved. It will be a problem that is solved but not solved well. Right? Completely unsolved problems are greenfield problems, and that's like a COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine is an unsolved problem. Whoever comes out with a COVID vaccine first has the whole world as the market. Right? They are greenfield problems which generally come from research. Such problems you only can solve from research. For a normal startup, those opportunities don't exist. They're mostly what they call greyfield problems, which means there is some solution there. It is probably having some inadequacy. Now they should observe first what is the solution, what is the problem, what is the solution, where are the gaps, and often the gaps is not for everybody. Maybe for a subset of users for whom the gap is more significant. Understand where are the gaps and for whom, and then evaluate if it's a problem worth solving. If you solve it, will they go with your solution? If you just say like, okay, mine can function like if you go do something on the internet today, it takes you 3 seconds, mine will take 1 second. Yes, you're 3 times better, but does that matter? 3 seconds to 1 second, it doesn't matter. When I click, before you realize 3 seconds is over. So it doesn't matter to the user if it's 3 seconds or 1 second. So you're solving a problem that does not matter. So you should make sure you're solving a problem that matters. If it's taking 2 minutes and you can bring it down to 1 second, then yes, it's a problem worth solving. So understand the inadequacies, understand who has the issue with it, and understand if it's worth solving. This on one side, when you pick a problem. The second side of it, like that problem should resonate with you. So at the end of the day, like it is not just a job. Like startup is where there's a lot of heart and passion involved. So it should be a problem that connects with you. You should feel strongly for that, and you should want to solve it. Either you like the domain, you like sports so much, you want to take up a sports problem, or like it should in some form connect with you, or you connect with the problem, like you feel very strongly and want to solve the problem. So there is a person. So these are the two reasons I would say: look for problem worth solving, and make sure it's a problem that connects with you. It should be something that you like. And
very interesting.
Those are two necessary.
It's very interesting. So, I mean, Sergey Brin and Larry Page might have got the rank algorithm more sexy to them or appealing to them, and they made search engine. They never went for doing a chemical factory like Dhruv did. So it's, I think, a personal connectivity and
very
how
personal,
personally appealing it is. And secondly, as you mentioned, what big difference that you make. The problem that you told from 2D X-ray, if you can diagnose COVID-like thing, it can really, really improve the lot of testing facility, the remote facility, and all these things. So I think the delta of impact and your proximity to that idea or your love for that idea is a very critical factor to solve. One of the participants is asking, if I'm a researcher, what are the kind of maximum grants that I can receive if I want to translate my research into a proof of concept from incubators like you all?
So translation grants don't come from incubators. Okay. There are different translations, so they have to go to the agencies that fund translation. Like in our case, we do translation of product plans, which is a P-incubator. It is like we work, it's all linked. There's research, there's product lab, there's incubator. But we look at it as a P-incubator. Okay. Where at the end of it, a startup will come out. And so to find that there are no easy sources.
Wonderful.
Like if it's life science related, DBT does the funding. So translation, unfortunately, there's not too much of translation funding in India. There's research funding and the startup.
So there is a gap. So there are two bridges, there are two pillars, and the middle layer is missing.
Yes, and that is not too much. There is some funding available, but unfortunately, that gets used mostly for research and by research. no translation doesn't happen.
But there is something happening in your ecosystem in Hyderabad, the Research Innovation Council of Hyderabad. What is that happening? Would you like to tell something?
So Ajit Rangnekar is the Director General. Who was Ajit sir was the Dean of ISB for 10 years. And then after he finished his term there, then he started this institution for the government. It's called Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. They work with research institutions, CSIR labs and other labs. Hyderabad has the largest concentration of central government research labs in the country. Between agri, defense, and CSIR, there are about 26 research labs, non-academic. There are about 26 research labs. Some are very well known, like CCMB and such. And there are many others that are not so well known, but they're all central government funded research labs. And it has the largest cluster of central government funded research happening, non-academic research. And still very little translation happens. So the whole objective of REACH is to see like how do we connect these two worlds? Can we connect a research lab to a company? Because this pharmaceutical industry is very big in Hyderabad. So can you connect a research happening in like say one of the like say CCMB or IICT? Can you connect it to pharma? The problem with this is like these two worlds don't talk to each other much.
So and what is the inhibitor? What is the inhibitor? The industry needs a good innovation to.
It's just that like it's a waste of. They think it takes time. It's not very obvious to understand a possibility. There should be somebody in the middle that understands both worlds, and that's what REACH has. REACH has people in each domain, whether it's agri or whether it is healthcare or defense and aerospace. There are 6 sectors they work in. Each sector, there's a person who is well connected with research, who is also very well connected with industry. And these people are those very good at observations. They can spot, understand a research and say like this can be used to solve this problem. And this fit is not obvious. Somebody that understands both sides has to make that fit. And that's what our product lab does. That's what our whole co-innovation initiative is in IIIT. And in a much larger scale, that's exactly what REACH does.
Wonderful. One participant is asking that are these new technologies like AI, machine learning, they're going to take away more jobs or they're going to create new kind of world?
No. It's not going to take away any job. It is very, very hard to build AI solutions. So nobody's going to build an AI solution just because it's going to save jobs. They're going to build AI solutions because there is value possible. Now, so taking away jobs, yes, with any new technology, some jobs may go. But the focus is not jobs at all. The focus is value. And because it's very hard to build AI solutions. So nobody's going to go just build it just because it's available as a technology. It will not take away any jobs. That's a needless fear. On the whole, it will add jobs but not take away jobs.
So one question comes from a participant is, can you illustrate 1 or 2 Indian startups who have used this technology like AI ML to solve India's problems or create more impact at the grassroots?
So grassroots is a very, why are we hung up on grassroots? Is it a problem if if technology can solve any problem, it's okay, right? Grassroots or not doesn't matter at some level, right? If it can solve a problem out there, it is good. Now, can technology solve the problem of like say power pilferage? So a lot of power gets lost in the transmission lines, especially in the city because of tapping or whatever. Technology can help catch it very easily. It's a big data problem. You will have meter in every house. It's a digital meter. Then the problem is you know how much is getting consumed. You will have a meter that's in the neighborhood at the local transformer. You may have it at the substation. You will have it at the main main distribution station. And that whole network, data gets collected. It's a problem of finding out like, okay, the substation says so many units got consumed. But adding all the meters that are paying, there's 10% missing. And you can identify in which segment it's missing. So somebody can go and investigate. Now, this is a problem where technology can solve, but a startup cannot do this because you're selling to the government. Right? But the technology can solve this problem for the government. Pilferage, they're looking at it. When they talk about smart meters, it's only partly efficiency of metering. But the bigger requirement that they're trying to solve there is like, can we catch pilferage? Can we detect pilferage? Can we detect losses? Sometimes the loss is not because of pilferage. Nobody's stealing power. There's just a very inefficient transformer. Now, unless you know that you're losing power, then you can't just go figure out where you're losing. The first part starts with the information that you're losing power in this area. Then they can go and investigate. It could be a faulty transformer. It could be somebody that's pilfering power. So technology can solve problems at any level. Like if you talk about a low-cost diagnostic, that's a place where technology is solving somebody's problem. They can't afford to go and pay 5,000, 10,000 for a test. If a 200 rupees X-ray can tell them if they have it or not, that is technology, power of technology going to the grassroots.
So you are saying that don't get BOP or grassroots. You look for wherever your intervention can solve the problem and create value. That should be the core
Exactly.
approach of solving problem.
Exactly. Don't be stuck up on grassroots. I mean, you can always, if we are economically productive citizens, we are helping the grassroots. Our tax money helps grassroots. The number of jobs we give helps the grassroots. So let's not worry about it. If you can be economically productive, it is helping somebody anyway. So they should look at problems worth solving.
So one of the interesting question is coming is, once I developed a minimum viable product uh, and test it at my local context or something, where are the avenues where I go and showcase things, and what are the kind of possible early stage funding that I can access to incubators through you or others to take the idea to next stage?
No, see, there are incubators that have some good recognition. They're older incubators or such. They should quickly get to those incubators. See, as an early stage startup, with the student startup or otherwise, as an early stage startup, incubators are very important. Avenue available, easily available. They should go to an incubator and be part of the incubator. Least they should do. If they are accelerator program, they should join the accelerator programs. Because if you get selected, that's a validation. If you get selected, like if you take our own accelerator, well, anybody can come and work from an incubator. Our accelerator, like we get about 80 to 100 applications and we pick 3 startups in every cohort. So if you're one of those 3 startups, that means you're good. So they should go to the accelerators. They should try. It's hard work. They have to make an effort. The information is all available. They should just seek it out and then go. But join an incubator first and through an incubator to it.
Wonderful. One of the participant is the head of the institute. He's asking, sir, if I start from scratch to build innovation and startup ecosystem in my campus, what are your advices, state ABC, that I should plan?
No, the culture of innovation is the most important. So they should kind of, if they have any academic flexibility, see if they can restructure the courses a little, allow startup-based internship where somebody is trying to create a startup, give them academic credits for it. Encourage. I think the culture of innovation is one definite aspect. Even before starting a formal initiative, the culture of innovation should be there, and that is hard work. It's not like I build a building. Building an incubator as a building is easy to do. You put some 50 lakhs, 1 crore, and you'll get a nice incubator. But that's just a building. But actual activities in what happens there, or that you don't even need a building. You create a culture of innovation and support it. If that is happening, people are thinking of new products, prototyping the products. Like that is more important. So the focus should be more on that, on the culture of innovation. Do more hackathons. The hackathons is the first step, but hackathon doesn't ever create a product. Hackathon is only a first step, and then like from the top team, support them, tell them, look, I'm going to give you 5 lakhs grant, go build a prototype next 3 months. So hackathon is the starting point, but follow it up with other series of, there should be like things like talks and such in the beginning. There should be hackathons which are more like initial, just to get some initial interest. There should be some serious hackathons which can get a nice prototype. Once they bought a prototype, encourage them to continue and build a proper startup prototype. Right? They may still not be a startup. They can still do it as a project. But at the end of it, they have with some help from mentors and said they build a much better prototype. At that point, encourage them to decide if they want to become a startup. If they become a startup, give support. Tell them, okay, I'll give you 5 lakh seed money or 10 lakh seed money. I think they have to serially link all of these all the way up to like startup going and raising an angel round or a pre-angel round of 25, 50 lakhs.
Wonderful.
If these are not all of them are not linked, then it doesn't result in any outcome. You have entrepreneurship events. It's nice to talk about saying that we got so many people came, such and such well-known entrepreneurs came and talked, but that by itself doesn't do anything. If you do like a hackathon, by itself it doesn't do anything also. People come, people build something, win an award, get a certificate, and go back to the regular routines. So there should be a funnel, and when like say if 20 teams come to a hackathon, maybe 15, 16 teams will never even do anything about it. There may be 2, 3 teams that are serious. So the hackathon should be an avenue to discover those 2, 3 teams and then support them to the next stage. You do entrepreneurship events, some of them come to a basic hackathon, some of them come to a more serious hackathon, some of them will go to a prototype seeding stage, 3 months thing, and some of them will become a kind of like a free startup, and then smaller will become a startup. So there's a funnel. You'll have like few thousand students in the beginning, and at the end of it, you may get like 5, 10 startups. If you don't work on this whole funnel, you're not going to get those 5, 10 startups. Today, what's happening? Most institutions, somehow the startup happens and they think they will just support it. That is okay, but that is opportunistic. I think they can do better than that.
Wonderful. So you are saying that only standalone intervention will not fulfill the goal. You should have interventions which are interconnected, and then they should create a funnel so that if you start from few hundred and few thousand, definitely few of these ideas.
I'm sorry, I lost you there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I got you. So you were saying that you create a funnel and you create those processes and pedagogies interconnected so that if few hundred people take the culture, few dozen become an innovator and few of them become a startup. That's what should be the message for everyone.
Yeah, there should be a series of activities that are linked.
Okay.
Each activity is independent itself, but the design of the activity is such that like there's a link, there's something downstream to it. You do something, some of these you make them do something else, and from that a subset does something else. So they should be linked, though they don't announce it that way. But the design of it should be that they're all connected.
Wonderful. So one person is asking, how good is an idea to go and do some experience in industry? He's asking that you have a vast experience of industry and then come back and build thing. Is it necessary to have vast experience of technology and then build product, or vice versa? What is that?
No, it is. I mean, at some level, you work in the Indian IT industry. You're not prepared to do a startup. Like they might have been in some technical role. First thing, you're part of a large company. Not only you're part of a large company, you're part of an offshore operation of a large company. Right, which means you're already 2 levels removed. You never will see a customer. Your customer is another company who's defining the specification for you. You will never see the end customer. And as a startup, you need to understand the end customer. You're building for the market. And that's an experience Indian IT industry will never give you. You never meet end customers.
So a very interesting point which Ramesh is selling, that the more experience you have with all these offshore IT outsourcing company, the lesser you know about the user and customer, and probably the lesser you have the ability to convert into a product startups. And that's what is the challenge.
Absolutely. I believe an MBA and IT industry experience are negative skills.
So very powerful thing, and Nagarajan sir will take it very seriously that and all of us rather, that MBA probably makes you run a company well which exists, and this IT industry probably let you work for a couple of more hours and get things sorted out. But then building a product is a very different attribute altogether. You have 30 years of experience of building products in industry and all these things. So you were saying that there's a gap between industry and research labs. So why industry are not that much of hungry to accommodate startup companies?
No, because they themselves, first off, like in IT industry, they're all, like I said, they don't have the decision making ability, right? They are working for a customer elsewhere, or they are part of a global company where a lot of the key decisions happen elsewhere. So IT industry is a bad industry for that anyway. So they don't have the ability to make those decisions. Today, the Indian enterprises, they could make the decision. Now the point is, like, some of the companies I know, forward-looking companies, have tried to work with startups, and like they've burned their fingers. It didn't work out, and then they say, "Okay, look, I'm not going to work with startups. It's a waste of my time." Now the point is, like, there is some level of investment required in terms of time and energy to work with startups, because a startup is not going to do something that exactly what you do as a company. If you say, "Look, I'm going to go, I will look for startups, and if I find a good startup, I will take. I will give them 50 lakhs. They have a good program." But they don't find any good startup. Now, what we are saying, which we are talking when we do enterprise innovation programs, we do open innovation programs for companies. We are telling them, look, you have to. It has to be a process where the startup has to modify the solution to fit your need. You invest in that, do a paid POC. So we tell them, like, you give a broad challenge area, find startups in that area, and then, like, once you select a few startups, then tell them, look, you have this product, you modify it this way for me, I will take it. Now we encourage the startups, say, look, here is an enterprise that has come. If you get them as a customer, you'll get more of those in the same domain again. So you modify a product, and we try to tell them, look, use only the modification to be such that it can be done in 2 months or so. If not, it's not worth it. Now, this investment, very few companies are willing to make, even this much. It will cost them 30-40 lakhs, and somebody has to spend like 1 or 2 hours a week for about 3 months. Even that much of investment, very few companies are willing to make.
So some kind of
inertia. If they make that investment, they will find the innovation.
Absolutely.
But if they say, look, a startup should be doing exactly what I want, then I will take. It is not going to happen.
Oh, that's a very interesting point that you were saying, that like the startups never, come out of their love of their own product. The industries might be also trying to exactly fit their need, and both these loves doesn't match together. Somebody need to alter it and make it a product market fit kind of thing. And that's
because the startup might be, even if it's a good founder, good technology, they may not be very, very aware of your industry. So they might have done something based on understanding, but if you're willing to work with them, they can modify what they have very quickly to suit your need. Just that modification they may not know by themselves that they have to do it. You tell them, they will do it. Now, that process of co-creation is missing.
Or there is a very interesting point that you are saying. Suppose the startup has made something without knowing what the industry problem is, and then trying to fit it there, right?
Not that without knowing, they might have built it for some other industry.
Okay.
But with very little change, it can solve an entirely different industry problem.
Okay.
That industry problem, they may not be aware.
Right.
That's why we're telling enterprises, don't tell them, look, I'm in the garment industry. I want to start a work with garment industry.
Right.
We tell them, like, look, you give a broader problem area. I want, like, say, a retail supply chain problem. I want to work with a lot of small manufacturers who are like maybe even home cottage industry, small manufacturers. So you tell, like, I want a supply chain problem. Anybody in supply chain can apply. And this is broadly my challenge area, optimizing like distributed manufacturing. Now, they may not be working with garment industry. They may be working with some other industry. You get them and then tell them, look, you're doing it for that industry. I need to change it. My industry has these issues. I wanted to change the product to meet my industry. Can you do it? And they might be willing to do it. I mean, if it's a large name coming and saying, why will they not do it? Because they're getting a good name customer. So in that process, two things happen. The company finds innovation that was not readily available. It has to be modified to suit the need. The startup discovers a new market. That industry segment they might not have been targeting earlier. They may not even be aware there was a problem. So the startup discovers a new. It's win-win both ways, but the investment has to come from the company. That's where we are struggling.
This is very interesting, and this is what we are trying to take initiative from this Gujarat government's flagship program of iHub, Innovation Hub, that we will bring more corporates and companies, and we will kind of seduce them to come on board and see that the early investment of scouting some of the startups to fit the products. Recently, we did some experiments with Adani Group of Institutions, which is a conglomerate in Gujarat, and this group of companies took around 15 startups from our portfolio and most of them are student startups, by the way. They asked them to little bit modify their product based on their supply chain and all. And most of the startups are now got a decent market access to these companies. And I think this is a very interesting way our ecosystem need to evolve, where exactly the startups need to look at what are the gaps that exist in this company and how we can create a productive linkages between these two. We can do such kind of marriages.
Hiranmay, I just want to add a point here.
Yes, sir.
Ramesh, I think Mr. Ramesh also would agree. The startup needs to be clear about what is their value perception of a large company. Whether they are looking at it as a customer, large customer, potential customer, or whether they are looking at it as a platform to build a product and reach out to some other customer, or whether they are looking out to them as a investment support, innovation supporter. So, or there are corporates which are running incubators also, like just Hiranmay mentioned. So, whether they are only looking for some incubation and mentoring support. So, if you are clear about as a startup, if you are clear about your strategy and why you are engaging with someone, then you should be able to actually adopt your methodology or working. Because I have seen this dilemma when people talk to me or when they talk about government, they should be clear about whether they want to innovate for a solution to government or whether they want to use the government as a customer. Then the different rules apply for each and every way they want to engage. So that way they have to be clear about how they want to latch on to a big corporate or someone with scale, because startups bring agility and large corporates bring scale. So our interest is to marry the agility into the scale so that we multiply the value. So ultimately, that is a target for every one of us.
No, absolutely, sir. I agree. I mean, the mini startups, especially student startups, expect somebody to do all the job for them. They expect somebody to tell them, like, okay, this is the value for this industry. This should be your target industry. This is what should be in your product. You're right. I think the startups should take the first step for sure. They have to put the effort to understand and like understand that one segment very well and build for that segment. That's definite starting point. If they don't do that, there's no value in their product. With that, then can help them discover other segments. So long as they've done a good job on the first segment, any initiative like iHub or anything else or Adani Group can help them discover other segments. But the starting point is with the startup only.
So wonderful. One of the principal, Dr. Purani, Dinesh Purani, is asking, immense scope of applicability of AI in problem statement is known by students of conventional disciplines. How to integrate with other people who doesn't know IT per se? I mean, they might have an idea to solve a problem. Can there be translational or interlinkages of solving problems? Something kind of.
No, like we always say, we get this all the time. Somebody says, I have an idea, but I don't know technology. Can you help me with technology? It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
The technology must be in the startup team, which means like you have to find a friend of yours that is good in the technology and together start.
So I think what he is asking is, can there be integration? I mean, if somebody is an anthropologist who understands the problem, can he collaborate with the technology guy to solve it?
There are some ways
they have to find a
it.
technology person.
They have to find technology person.
They have to find a technology person. See, because ultimately startup is about believing in a dream and then working for that. So if you don't find someone who is also believing in your dream, it's very difficult. Once you have a founder or co-founder who is also believing in your dream, then you have a startup team, then you have a product or service, and when you have customers who believe in your product, only then we get into the revenue part. So what is important is finding a co-founder. There are platforms to find co-founders. I have seen that even in Ahmedabad, we have example where there are companies who provide tech support for startups in return for equity. That is also a workable model. We have there a lot of projects and startups have taken off, but ultimately, if you have your own co-founder, if there is a technical person who is owning your dream, your chance of success is very, very high. That is what I also feel.
Absolutely, it's a core function. Technology in such startups will be a core function that should be in the founding team.
Ramesh ji, there is a very interesting question. Urvesh is asking, कह रहे हैं कि AI जो है ना predictability में मदद करता है. तो मेरे पास अगर 3-4 solution मैंने कोई product के लिए बनाया, if I have made 3-4 prototypes, can AI tell me which is best to go forward?
I mean, if there's enough data, it's good. But in this case, unlikely that there's enough data. Because I mean, we have one of our startups that tells if you give it a story, it will tell you the story is good or not.
Oh.
And then it's being used by advertising industry right now. So they took a version, they found an opportunity. Who's going to pay for this? So they found an opportunity where advertising industry is willing to pay for it. Because they do the copyright script for an ad, like it's a newspaper strip ad or even a regular recorded TV ad. So they now evaluate the script. The script is fed into the algorithm and it will tell them on different emotions how the script is. Now, this whole model that was trained, they fed it a lot of stories and it was trained using many stories. And they know stories that are good, stories that are not good. And the model was trained, okay, if there are these elements, it is good. If these elements, it is not good. It could be the structure, could be the flow, could be the emotion. Now, but they had lots of data because stories are available everywhere. And you know the bestseller stories, so you can also categorize this is a good story, this is not that good a story. Now, but for this, where is the data? If you have enough database of ideas and ideas that work and that did not work, then it's possible, but it's very difficult to get the data.
Because I think India at a large stage for AI to be successful, I think this is a common challenge that we don't have access to more of live data which can be analyzed or interpreted in terms of taking it forward.